insurance rates, on average anyway, have come down. They're about 1% this year in the rates that have just been announced. Now that's for a couple of reasons. That's because the Patrick administration, the insurance commissioner, has been really pushing the companies downward. And you can do that a year or two, but after a while,
you got to let them make a fair profit.
Well, and the costs start getting shifted to other things. Eventually, it's like the muffler commercial. Pay me now or pay me later, and you don't want it to affect people's ability to get care and good quality care. So that's a part of it. The other is that the economy itself, being slow, has had an impact on insurance costs and things of that nature. So, so what we want to do by the bill we're putting through is to keep that good movement in the right direction and continue while strengthening the whole healthcare system. So I think.
And now, even when you talk about electronic records, a concept that I find phenomenal. Now, luckily, the technology seems to have caught up with our dream, because when you first started, I don't think you could envision the cloud.
Oh no.
Or the price of geography.
Well, technology is changing dramatically, and we're able to adapt to that and use it for keeping track of our health.
Oh, and I think about it. I called a physician that I had surgery done in Annandale, Virginia in 79. He had my records, and I could pay him. He made copies. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to imagine the cost of maintaining all those paper records. And then it cost me to have them copied, to be brought up here. Now, I scanned them right away, yep. So I did my own mini electronic record system. But it just has to be so much more efficient.
You have it in the electronic record. You have the number of vaccinations you've had from the time you're born and go to school, and everybody so many years you have a tetanus shot and different shots. Well, in fact, the Defense Department has been talking to state legislators collectively around the country about wanting to be able to get access to your vaccination record of a recruit. Because right now, they have to give you, if anybody that's gone into the service,
they have to assume you have nothing.
They're going to give you a whole bunch of needles stuck in you and all kinds of vaccines. Well, if they have your vaccination record and they know what you've had, then they can cut down some of those shots. So it'd be a much quicker, less expensive, and less painful enlistment process for those folks that go in.
Sure.
And that's true with some other professions too.
But even in treatment,
yep.
I mean, if you think about it, if I'm a physician and I could have instant access to your records,
yep.
Boy, I could rule out a whole battery of tests and possibilities.
Yeah, and now people do get concerned about the access to who gets access to those records, and it's got to be a secure system, at least as secure as you can make it.
Right.
So that it's not abused, which is what the law basically covers. But it will help. It's easier access to that information for the doctor as they're trying to figure out what you need. It also, anyone goes to the doctor, particularly as you get older, you start having multiple medications. And unless you write them down and keep them with you, nobody, and you go to multiple doctors, it's not like the same one. And so unless the other doctors can have that information sent into your record as to what they prescribe, they're going to miss something.
Some of the pharmacies are trying, but yes, you could be going to your normal healthcare physician, your GP, and then you go to a dermatologist.
Yep.
God forbid,
yep.
they get medication that can cross-react.
Sure, and that's very possible these days, too.
And especially if you don't go to the same pharmacy. Because I can see it where, to control costs, like for my mother, if she orders her meds locally, she gets 1 month at a time, pays one copay each month.
Yep.
If she orders them through Merck Medco, who General Motors is contracted with, she gets 3 months at a time, one copay.
Yeah, and more people are doing that, or trying to do that. So you get different ways that the information is produced, and you've got to get it collected in one record for the patient. And it will reduce the number of tests you have to have. If you just had one in one doctor, you don't necessarily have to have the same test by another doctor a couple of weeks later. And so it'll really streamline the system and make it better quality, they'll be able to figure out what you need and not make mistakes in the process. That's a step forward. So I think overall, you know, the direction we're moving, we've been moving, and now we're going to continue to move, is going to be for the benefit of the patients.
So from accessibility, quality, cost, I mean, I'm seeing all these benefits.
Yep.
Yet out in the square states, all you hear is how bad Massachusetts health.
They're not, you know, even
politics or reality.
Even the Massachusetts Taxpayers Foundation, which has done a pretty good job of economic research, and they're not any liberal group by any means. They're funded by some of the businesses. They've said, look, we're within the budget that was projected. We're doing what we need to do.
Looks scary at first, but we're coming in.
Yeah, and so this is now, we're in our 6th year of that plan. So we've reduced the uninsured to a very minimal amount. We're maintaining, and hopefully you're going to be continuing to improve the quality of care that people get. We're within the budget. The health costs overall, not only here but everywhere, have gone up, and that's one of the things that this next bill is going to be hoping to address. So that wasn't because of the health reform. That was because that's what's going on.
Dick,
now.
The economy forces people to go to Medicaid.
Yeah.
No matter what you put through for managing healthcare accessibility costs, whatever, you're not going to change that with a healthcare bill.
No. There's a lot. There are some things that are beyond our control, but I think with the things that we can control, we're going to be able to do that. And the other thing we're doing is we've added more transparency to the system, so people will know what it's going to cost them. They'll be able to get from their insurer, this is what the treatment that you're going to get, this is what it's going to cost, what your share is going to be. A lot more information that's available to individuals as well as to us as we try to set policy and as we monitor the system to try to get it down to a much more cost-effective basis.
And it seems like now, I mean, when we look at what Frank Saber and Phil Sermacoli have built out here in Milford, the little Milford hospital that could, you know, it's amazing when I look at what kind of treatment that our residents can get right here in Milford.
Oh, and that's the intent as well, is to try to, wherever we can, encourage people to get treatment in their community hospital. If the same treatment is available here as there, and if the quality, and you'll be able to see on the record whether the quality is good or not. You know, we want you to try to. It's better to get it local. There might be some things that you need to have the teaching hospital because of the skills that the faculty have.
Yeah, but I no longer have to go to man's greatest hospital. I don't have to go to MGH for everything.
No.
I mean, we've got people associated with Dana-Farber, UMass. These are top shelf people.
Sure. And that's, you know, it's some of it's encouraging people to really understand what it's costing, and it affects their pocketbook too, is out-of-pocket costs. To understand that you can get as good, or in some cases even better, care other than going to the teaching hospital to get it.
You know, I'll argue that as good is better, because when my mom came down with cancer, the fact that she could go see Mona here in Milford, who's been here forever, Dr. Kate is, you know, she didn't have to leave the center of the universe here.
That's a big part of recovery too.
You know, mentally, the burden was so much less on her
Sure.
than if we had to drive her into Boston, you know, away from Milford, away from where she was comfortable. So, you know, I think in a lot of cases, when we look at it, the same is better if you can have it at home.
Yeah.
Not just cost.
Well, you're saving in a lot of areas. You're saving on the stress of travel, and family can be closer, and that helps with recovery. And so there's a lot of things going on that if you can do it locally, whether it's here or some other community where they have a community hospital, that's usually preferable.
We joke about it, but you know, we've gone into the Milford Hospital, and they always had their little rules on how many people can be in a room to visit. They never understood Portuguese mothers. And it's always amazing because they come in through the emergency room, the back, they find a way in.
Yeah, sure.
And then you've got people like my mother who've been here, let's see, she came in 1941, so 70 years. You'll have about 10 or 12 of these old Portuguese mothers and grandmothers. When the nurse goes in to tell them they're not allowed in there, It's amazing how none of them can speak English anymore. But you know, you joke about it, but you say, it's so nice for that patient.
Right.
To
Well,
have,
and the other thing is that the hospitals now, and Milford's no exception, with the addition that they are now raising money to build, they're moving to single rooms. Every hospital, if you're going to build a new wing on a hospital, you have to offer single rooms. Now, that used to be the luxury.
sure.
That if you weren't
You had 4 in the
if you
room.
weren't one of the drapers, or
Yeah, if you weren't rich, you couldn't afford to have your own room.
And now and then when they build that, they'll also then revamp some of the existing rooms to single rooms, so that in most cases it'll be single rooms, because, well, for a lot of reasons. One is you don't have that problem of, if there are 2 patients, twice as many mothers and
Right.
aunts and everybody else there. So that's part of it. And the other is that just the infection issue and stuff. You can continue not having somebody else in the patient.
If you have somebody that needs special care, or again, somebody with a zorched, you got a compromised immune system.
Sure. Yeah.
You want to minimize the traffic going in.
Absolutely.
So, politics or reality, the Massachusetts healthcare?
The reality is that it's working, and people say that it isn't because they either don't like Governor Romney.
Because we have a presidential candidate that they want to go
or
after.
they don't like the fact, the fact that everybody is expected to have insurance if they can afford it, and if they can't, we provide
We pay for
it. And the reason is that you don't want somebody just sitting back and not paying anything in insurance and then expecting everybody else to pay for them when they get
But
sick.
didn't we all have insurance anyway, Dick? If I got sick and I have no insurance, I go to the emergency room.
Well,
It cost me 10 times more, but you were going to take care of me anyway.
Well, but if you didn't have the money, you still get taken care of. But either the hospital eats it, or we have.
I mean, somebody paid for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were turning somebody away.
The mandate aspect of it was to try to enforce individual responsibility to do what you can afford to do.
The odds are I'll go for preventative care. I won't get as sick.
Right, and that's the other piece of what we're trying to promote, even more wellness and prevention, with additional support and funding and setting up the mechanism, encouraging businesses to have wellness programs for their employees. So it's part of keeping that cost in line.
Keep going. Issue number 2, secure communities. Coming to a town near you.
Finally, and I've been pushing that for over a year.
And help me understand. I mean, I know you've been on the side of pushing it.
Yep.
I don't understand the negative part of it. To me, it's an opt-in activity.
Well, I can see if you're a criminal, you probably wouldn't like it.
Agreed.
Especially if you're a criminal and also
an
you're
illegal
here
alien
illegally.
criminal.
Because it's a simple system. It's right now when the Milford police arrest somebody, they either strong suspicion they committed a crime or they caught them in the act or whatever it might be. They bring them to the station, they book them, they fingerprint them. And those fingerprints get sent to the state, which then get forwarded to the FBI, all electronic.
Which then go to Homeland Security.
Which go to Homeland Security. However, they don't come right back to the town right away. But with secure communities, they will.
So right now, I decide I'm going to do something bad.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I'm getting in the system.
Right.
If I get a parking ticket, I didn't get fingerprinted. Not that I ever got one. If I get a speeding ticket, not that I would ever get one. But I didn't get fingerprinted.
Yeah.
So I have to do something.
It's not, you could be here as an illegal alien. Of course, it's not right, but I mean, you could be here. But as long as you don't commit a crime, another crime, that's more of a civil offense.
Right.
But as long as you don't commit another crime, you're not
Nobody's
going to show up on secure communities.
But if I do commit a crime,
Then-
breaking and entering, something bad,
Yeah.
Tom O'Laughlin picks me up, he fingerprints me, and my name is Alan Smith.
Yeah.
That's what I told him. My fingerprints go through the state to the FBI to Homeland Security. Now, you're holding me right in the police station.
And you need, the police need that information back while they've got you there. They can
Today it comes nowhere, it gets stopped.
Yeah, they can hold you for a certain period of time. I think it's maybe 24 or 48 hours, some limited period of time. And if they haven't charged you with the crime,
They're gonna let you go.
they're gonna let you, or you can post bail in some cases. And we've had at least one case that I know of in Milford, where had they known that this individual was here illegally,
They wouldn't let him get out.
They wouldn't let him go, but he did go, and now he's down in South America, avoiding trial here.
So
back
now,
at
though,
home.
when secured communities come in,